That's how we own it.
What's up, family? It's your girl, Tamika D, Mallory.
And it's your boy, Mysonne, the General.
And we are your host of Street Politicians, the place where the streets and politics meet. What's going on, Mysonne Lennon?
We out here in Louisville, working,
Kentucky.
Doing a bunch of work. So trying to do a million things, but we had to make sure that we supplied our street politician family, with our news and with, our commentary and things they need to know. So we here.
That's right. It's hot Kentucky. That's what I call it. Hot Kentucky.
It's hot as hell out here.
It is. And it's also going to be a hot several months that we'll be working in Kentucky to stop Daniel Cameron, the current Attorney General, from becoming governor of the state. For those of you who do not know, Daniel Cameron is the Attorney General of Kentucky. He's the current Attorney General who was tasked with finding justice for Breonna Taylor's death, for the murder of Breonna Taylor. What happened was that the local government in Louisville, Kentucky, could have prosecuted the officers, but they did not. They turned over the investigation to the Attorney General's office. That's important to note that the Attorney General here, it has a deep love for police and for all conservative things. So he had already made statements, whether it be in his campaign fundraisers or at other times, that he supports the police and that he would do whatever was necessary to continue that allegiance to police. And so he's done that. He has really stood very much so in his word. He's been very clear. And what's the word I'm looking for? Basically he stuck to that in the case against the officers or for the officers who killed Brianna. And this is not information that we're coming forward with. We're talking about what the jurors said, the people who were in the grand jury proceedings that had the ability to indict those officers for killing Breonna Taylor. They came forward and said they would never present it with a case that would have allowed them to indict for Breonna. They were presented with something about the wall and how the neighbors were impacted by the shooting that night, but they were never presented with charges for Breonna Taylor. And so when Daniel Cameron came forward to say that the jury did not find charges against those officers for Breonna specifically, he basically made it seem like the jury looked at all the evidence, like he presented a case, and they found that these officers were not guilty of murdering her. That is not the case. He lied. Exactly. He lied to the family. He lied to the public. He lied to the jurors. And the jurors, again, several jurors came forward to say this. And so now he wants to be rewarded for disrespecting Breonna's family and for circumventing the process for justice by becoming and going to a higher level than Attorney General and becoming governor of the state of Kentucky. And we certainly just cannot allow that to happen.
Not at all. And let's say happy birthday to Breonna Taylor.
Absolutely.
And today is her birthday. When you see this, it would have been her birthday. She would have been 30 years old. So we say happy heavenly birthday to Breonna Taylor, and in her honor, we've decided that we're willing to work and do whatever we have to do to make sure that Daniel Cameron doesn't become the governor. I think for me, it's just the lack of character as a man. For you to call yourself a man and look a mother in her face and lie to her, to intentionally deny her justice and then brag about it. Part of his campaign and his video, he talks about how he wouldn't be, he stood up to the protesters and he wouldn't be bullied. And he took pride in the fact that he denied a Black woman justice. He took pride in the fact that he allowed the officers who killed Breonna Taylor not to even be charged, not to stand there in court and see, or even get the opportunity to be charged. He took pride in that. So any man who would take pride in coward behavior definitely shouldn't be a governor. He shouldn't even be the Attorney General, but he definitely can't be the governor. So, on Breonna Taylor's birthday, we vowed to come back here and do whatever is necessary to make sure that that doesn't happen. So
yes. And so for folks who are wondering what that looks like, we are opening 2 offices. There are 2 cities in Kentucky that have a number of voters who we believe represent different values from the Attorney General, the Black and Brown community, people who are in underserved communities. When you look at his campaign and also just the values that he stands for, who he is, and the people he's aligned with, whether it be Mitch McConnell, Donald Trump, and others, we believe that in 2 specific cities, of course, there are other counties and smaller areas around the entire state of Kentucky, but specifically in Louisville, Kentucky, which is where Breonna Taylor lived and where we were stationed for 4 months while we lived here, fighting every day for her, where we've continued to visit for 3 years. We've been going back and forth to Kentucky. It's no stranger to not strange information to any of you who are listening and those of you watching. So here in Louisville, Kentucky, where we are today, and also in Lexington, Kentucky. Lexington is another area that has a high population of people who look like us and people who come from the communities that we serve and the communities that we come from. And so Until Freedom is opening 2 offices, one in Louisville and one in Lexington from now until the election in November. It's not a long time. That's a short period of time from now in June to November. We've got a short period of time to fight this fight. And sometimes that works better for our people because folks get the opportunity to stay focused. And the main thing that we need, in addition to people coming down here and spending weekends and weekdays at events, knocking on doors, showing up all over the city, the state of Kentucky, but specifically in these 2 areas where we're going to be focusing heavily, we need that support. We need people to be door knockers, to make phone calls, even from wherever you are. You can be in New York City. We can get you a voter roll, and you can call and inform people about who Daniel Cameron is, and you can work with us. But also, it is not going to be free. It costs us. We spent over $1 million when we lived in Kentucky during that 4-month period, between our housing, the food to feed all of the 25 activists who were here on a regular basis, living with us throughout the protest. We also supported a number of organizations. We gave out hundreds of thousands of dollars to smaller grassroots groups and people who have not, don't necessarily have access to funding. We fed over 4,000 people by giving out food and giving out produce and other things. Shout out to our brother Chey the Truth, who helped to donate several trucks of food. So we had that going on. We had many different celebrities that came in using their shows, whether it be Love and Hip Hop or Atlanta Housewives, and just so many different people. Irv Roland, who works in the NBA, he had several athletes to come and be a part of our efforts. And it costs money to facilitate all of those activities. It costs money to facilitate hotels for some of those individuals. Some of them paid for themselves. Others, we had to cover their expenses. And then finally, a lot of our people, they have issues. People are living on the street, literally while they protest, living on the street, not having food all day. And so in addition to feeding mass numbers of people and we knocked on thousands, hundreds of thousands of doors to get people out to the protest, to explain to people what was going on and to keep the local community informed. We delivered boxes of food to our elders and to families. We did all of that work for a 4-month period and some beyond that, but we also had to help and support individuals who were in need, who are a part of the protest community. So it's a lot of work. It's not easy. It's a lot of work. It takes a lot of resources, and we cannot do it on air. And I'm telling you right now, with all the things we're doing, opening the 2 offices, everything that we're doing, we do not have the resources, but we believe in all of you. We believe in God most of all. And we thank Tamika Palmer, Breonna Taylor's mother, for today donating to Until Freedom and asking people in Breonna Taylor's name to donate in the honor of her 30th birthday to donate $30, $300, $3,000, and even more than that to support Until Freedom and what we are doing here in Kentucky. And so, again, we believe in God, we believe in all of you, and we are grateful to everybody that's already supported us, but we need support right now to help us do the work of stopping Daniel Cameron from being rewarded for being a hindrance to justice, an obstructionist to justice.
That's
so
right.
Thank y'all for the support, and we look forward to continuing, our work with you all today. As I sit and really just think about so many things that's happening in this country, my thought of the day is, I wonder if people understand all that it takes to lead a movement and their personal role. People often say to us, how do y'all survive? Like, where do the resources come from? And I would submit to you today that as a part of my thought of the day, I would submit to you that if you have not donated $1, $5, $10, Barack Obama won his campaign for presidency in both elections based upon small donations, $1, $10, $5, $20, $100. That's how he won his elections. That's the way that they put an army together to raise the money needed for him to win. And if you haven't given, when you're asking, how does it happen? Know that you are a part of that process. Know that you are the person that we need to help us do our work. So please go to untilfreedom.com today, please, and give $30, $300, $3,000, call your family and friends, do whatever you can. And if all you have is $3, then what do you say, my son? All you have is?
All we need.
That's right. All you have is all we need. So we usually talk about a bunch of stories, but for today, we wanted to take the necessary and appropriate time to lay out what's happening in Kentucky and the support that we need from you all. And we're going to bring our guest on because we want to talk about another issue. It's a little lighter, but hey, if you're successful at this next topic, you might be successful at supporting the movement even more. So let's bring our guest on.
iWomanTV, a digital streaming news and entertainment network featuring stories and content created through a female lens, a place where female content creators can reach a global female audience. With a vast library, iWomanTV showcases original and licensed content centered around the topics and issues that matter most to us. iWoman is not just another women's network, it's a movement. Join me to change the world, one woman at a time.
So today we're joined by more of our friends. They're new friends to you, but they're certainly not new to me. Two young sisters that I admire, boss women doing big, huge things. First of all, I met them some time ago. Have been following them on the internet, and the growth over a short period of time, just a few years, is really, truly incredible. I'm so proud of both of these sisters out there doing big things. And I'm happy that I'm able to introduce them to you, my son, and also to introduce them to the Street Politicians family. Our two sisters from, first of all, their podcast that is banging off the chain is Diva Unfiltered Podcast. It's Dominique the Diva and Chey Parker. Thank y'all for joining us.
Oh my goodness.
That was an amazing intro, right?
That was kind of dope.
We don't really deserve. Thank you so much for having us. You know, we love you so much and we just admire you and we just thank you for everything both of you do by being such activists in the community and doing the real work and really being on the streets. And so we're so excited to be here today.
Yes, absolutely. And Tamika, I don't think we haven't seen Tamika since BET Awards last year. And we ran into the hotel like Tamika.
Yeah, we see each other at events, but it's always like so good. And you know, that's the one thing I do love about social media is that I never miss anything. Because I was just saying before we got on here that I was just watching y'all swing around looking sexy in Jamaica last week, all week. I saw a lot of things. I ain't gonna tell you. Y'all go check it out. You can see too. because it's still there. The
You either caught it or you did.
Listen, what happens in Jamaica stays in Jamaica unless it's on Instagram, of course. But it was an unfiltered vacation. We let loose, but that's really what the podcast is about. We meet on the purple couch and we kind of let loose and get unfiltered, being media girls and working in syndicated radio and on air and on television. Everyone gets to see us in our professional realm. Right. But when we get to the couch, we really let loose and we talk about a plethora of things. It might be twerking on vacation. It might be what's going on locally in elections and pushing election day and making sure that we're out here in the community getting people registered and aware of, things like that. And we just like to make sure that they understand that Black women are so multifaceted. Yes, you saw us shaking it and we doing whatever on Instagram, but HBCU grads over here, mass comm grads over here, and we've been working in our industry right now for over 10 years. And so we just like to remind everybody what you see on social media, I think it went up because a lot of people don't really get to see us shaking right now. People don't really be doing it on a regular. We don't show you on a regular, but we be doing it on
I know. Same
I'm gonna see what's going on because I gotta pay attention. You got to send me, DM me that. Let me see what is talking about. But first of all, I just love your energy. Your energy is dope, and I've been paying attention to you guys. And I'm like she said, I'm proud of you, sis. I have never actually physically met you guys, but just watching you grow from where you are. So how long have you been in? How long have you guys been friends? Give us some background.
Well, we don't even know how we met, actually.
We don't remember the day.
We don't remember the day or what actually happened. We know we met down in the 757. Diva was doing radio down there at the time. And I was coming back and forth because, I had a little boyfriend down there. And some type of way we met and we just automatically clicked.
And we would see each other at events all of the time. And if you're not familiar with the 757, that's the Virginia Beach, Norfolk area where I was doing radio. I went to Virginia State and I started doing radio in Richmond, Virginia. And then I went to the Virginia Beach area for 3-4 years. That's where Chey happens to be from. And being that, of course, that we're both, media girls in the same realm, we just clicked from day one. And since then, one time I moved to LA, a couple years after doing radio down there, 5 years after I moved to LA for a little bit. And I was on the phone with her, what cool if we had a podcast, one of those podcast things, together, in the same city. And it just so happened I moved back to DC in 2017 and we've had Diva Unfiltered ever since. And so we're on season 3 right
season 4. We're on season 4. Yeah.
We're on season 4 right now, and we're so excited to also announce that we will be joining Streets TV on Roku, so it'll be available for you guys to get familiar with us if you have Roku on Streets TV, starting every Thursday at 9 p.m. This month. So just stay tuned to Diva Unfiltered Instagram to find out the premiere.
Yeah, it's going to be super exciting. And I think for us, expanding to a new platform and also, being radio girls, just showing women especially that you can present all the dimensions of you. We find that often, when we show up in the world, we're only presenting as one side of us. It's almost like a Rubik's Cube. You're showing one side. It's the family woman, the mother on one side, the career woman on another side, and all of these other facets. But we want women and men also to know that it's okay to show up as all of you, and all of those things, still be true.
Yeah, my son. I saw one time it came up on the Burger Club. You was in a strip club down there. They were surprised to see you down there.
I'm like, listen, I go to the strip club like you go to the strip club.
I'm at the strip club for the wings. Hello.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a great excuse. I've used that one before. That's my favorite excuse. The wings. There was nowhere else to eat in town. And to tell you the truth, it's not even a lie. When we land at 1 o'clock in the morning in a particular city, especially these small towns where everything is closed, the only thing open is the strip club, and they're the ones that got the wings and the French fries and the food trucks outside. That's my favorite.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
Magic City sauce.
I don't know how clean it is. I don't know how clean it is, but it certainly tastes good.
Yeah, so don't think about it.
But listen, I heard you all talking about podcasts and you were talking about radio, and I want people to be clear about what you do. So you have Diva Unfiltered, which is a podcast that the two of you are on together, but you both are on top radio stations separately in the DC area as hosts, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Absolutely.
So I'm on the Quicksilver Show with Dominique the Diva. It's Afternoon Drive on 93.9 WKYS. It is syndicated in several other cities, but it's based out of DC. Right in the nation's capital in DC from 3 to 7 p.m. You can catch me on the Quicksilver Show with Dominique the Diva. And it's syndicated. So we're also in Columbus, and we're also in Cincinnati and Baltimore. And that is where you can also hear Chey Parker, honey, in the morning.
In the mornings on the flagship Baltimore station, which has been like such a joy for me. And I'm still new in Baltimore, sort of, kind of, but every weekday from 6 a.m. until 10 a.m. So it's just funny how it all plays out, especially when we come on the purple couch, because I bring what I went through this week. Diva comes with what she went through this week, and then we just really just let it all out and say the things that we can't say on the radio.
Yeah, I think
that's the
people don't realize, as media girls, and even your work that you do as activists, it's a lot having to keep up with headlines. We have to keep up with all the headlines, right? We got to keep up with the blogs talking about, with the national news is talking about, local news, state laws, things that pertain to Black families, Black men, Black women. We have to stay abreast of all of these things all the time, and we have to be accurate with the information, and we have to sometimes formulate opinions. And so when we get to this couch, that's why it's unfiltered, because it's like right here is we keeping it a buck with you, and that's what you guys will hear or watch when you check out Diva Unfiltered.
So as Black women in this industry, do you find is there like misogyny? Do y'all deal with any type, all of that type of issues that I hear about?
Yeah, especially with such a male-dominated industry, and you know how the music industry, radio industry can be. And so that is tough to navigate sometimes.
Yeah, I think honestly for us, and I won't speak for you, Diva, but you can chime in here. I honestly feel as though I've been really blessed not to have to experience some of the things that, other women or some of my colleagues have had to face in the industry. I came up under, an amazing program director, J1, and, even directors now, they truly do respect what we do. And I think it's because we come with so much, assertiveness and discipline and respect for what we do. And we're just really, focused on how things sound and what we're saying and how we're speaking to our community. So I think that plays a lot into it. It's so unfortunate when we do hear stories of women who, are going through sort of like sexual, harassment situations in the workplace. Those things do absolutely happen. We've just really been blessed not to have to, really have to fight those things personally.
So in line with that though, I know it's difficult. We have a podcast as well that you all are on right now on Street Politicians. And we do a host of other things. Longevity is not easy, right? For women, for men, for all of us, and especially for women, because we are always looked at as, our brands are not going to be successful. There's not many spaces for us in this industry, but you all have been here for a while. I think you said your podcast is 4 seasons since 2013.
2018.
18. That's a long time. In the world of media, because the cycle changes so much. What do you think has been the keys to success? And while you're answering that, let's talk about like those gotcha moments. Like we see all of these YouTubers and people who are popping up now. They're trying to figure out what's the spiciest story. You talked about, Dominique, truth and making sure that your reporting is accurate. How are you keeping up with that and not being the first to jump on a story just so you can maintain your space in the podcast world?
Well, I think we represent a whole plethora of people who also like really love what it is that we're all doing, right? And so when you do that, you have a certain respect for it, and you do your research about it, and you feel confident in showing everybody that, okay, look, it's cool, but you don't have to try to be the first at everything. It's more important that you're accurate, because these are real people. From where we sit being radio girls, we get to see celebrities as human beings, right? I get to talk to all the fans before they come for the meet and greet, right? Then I get to go talk to the celeb on his bus. It's like we get to see things from the whole point of view of, talking to listeners who are just excited and knowing that celebrities are human too. So knowing that it's important to be more accurate than anything than to be first. And I think sometimes that, you know, the blog culture and, you know, the rest of the entertainment industry, like we all really like work to get together on this. And we have to remember that it affects like people in real life. And if you have like a celebrity friend, you might have witnessed them going through some stuff that's going on the blogs that's not even true, but it's like up for me, you know, in the meantime, like if you're on that level with them. So I think it's just important for us to use our platform to do that. I don't know if I answered her question.
To be responsible. And I think what a lot of people, when they start podcasts, they're more interested in going viral. Like, what is going to be that viral moment? What am I going to talk about that is really going to get people talking, even if it's not true? And again, for where we stand, we just don't want that to ever, you know, get confused with our brand. And what I feel as though our audience and our supporters really appreciate is that we may not be talking about it first, but when we do talk about it, we're bringing a different perspective to the conversation.
Because everybody's talking about it. Just like on the radio, everybody's talking about the same thing. Like, how are you talking about it? What spin are you going to put on it? And sometimes we don't mind, like, you know, making Black girls mad by making us be accountable and talking to us about situations where we're wrong too, or things like that, you know, that they might not talk about it from that point of view.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where do you guys see your podcast and what you do in the next 5 years? Like, what do y'all want it to be?
That's interesting, because like we just started with Streets TV, and I don't know, it's a talk show, but daytime TV is not ready for us, honey. No. So it might have to be on the late night. We really be cussing and saying all types of things. And you have podcast. We have a title called like, "Mom, you don't want to listen to this one," and they go and listen to it anyway, because we, you know,
exactly.
So y'all are talking about controversial topics. Of course, you're talking about sex. You're talking about politics. You're talking about body parts. Like,
y'all about white men gone mad. Like, well, they always been mad.
Yes,
really
that's the topic.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's not the topics that Mama don't want to listen to. Those are the ones that Mama supports. It's the other stuff y'all be talking about that, you know, kind of gets people excited.
We you know, we see the controversy. And I seen that Dominique had made the comment about Michael B. Jordan being corny. You know, so what happened? Did you get a lot of backlash? What happened as a result of that comment?
It was an uproar. Like the corny brigade attacked.
It was World War III with the nuclear bombs and trench warfare.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
In my comments for days, death threats, all sorts of things. And so thank God.
Death threats.
Yeah. Yes, I really showed how they ended up bullying me and said way worse things than the word corny than I did. But they was upset about that. But look, I've been on the radio since I was 19 years old, and somebody being mad about something I said is just another day to me. Okay, I already said what I said. Like, y'all say way worse in them comments every day. Like, let's be for real. And that's all perspective that I'm coming to. I'm not doing anything for like shock value. Like, I had actually in the context bigged him up. Like, we all know that we need our guy to be at least 5 to 7% corny, so he can do all the cheesy stuff you want to do, like do picnics and take you on dates and plan dates. Like, you're not gonna get that from Jaquandrion.
I get you. So what I want to know, I want to ask
really the big deal. Like, keep it about what's really the big deal about that. So
and I think it really just showed how, you know, a lot of times the people who are on the internet, again, are presenting one way and are just looking for something to be upset about, something to release some anger on, or just something to talk about. And it was just like, okay, is it a slow news week? Like, are we really gonna go this hard for the whole week? And they really went that hard for the whole.
Okay. Oh, that was fun.
So I want to ask a question, just as a man, right? What for me, I've heard so many different perspectives. I heard women that's like, you know, I don't want no corny dude that's just too nice. I want a guy that gives me a little spice. You know, some of them that might treat me bad, might not answer my calls sometimes. Or what do women actually prefer? Because there's this up and down. Because I've seen.
We don't know what we want.
Y'all don't know. That's what I said. That's what I said.
Asking us that, like, we must have something. No, I'm just kidding. But we know we need him to be like, you know, as you grow as a woman, you might realize, like, hey, you know what? I probably do need about 5 to 7%, like corny, or just a little bit. But you know, different women want different things. I've heard plenty of women say, I love my husband. He is so corny, and every Sunday we, you know, whatever they do. And like a lot of people that are corny as well hit me up and was like, yeah, people call me corny all the time because I like anime, but I mean, it is what it is.
Someone somewhere calling us corny.
call me corny the rest of my life. You just have to really have the voice in your head be bigger than everyone else's opinion of you. And that's one thing that Chey and I try to let everyone know, as far as these days where it's hard. You can't say anything without someone getting offended these days, but that cannot allow you to stop you from being yourself and from using your voice and saying the things that you want to say, how you want to say them, because you're talking to your people, you're talking to your tribe, and you need them to find you. So you got to keep it real so that they can.
I agree. And, I don't know if anybody knows what they want in this society. I think we know what we want. We kind of get the essence of it, but we're ever evolving as humans. And so some things trigger us. Some things were okay when we were 19, 20, 25, 31, 32. Now things are changing in your life, in your mind. So certainly, that it is ever evolving what we want. To answer that question, I will say that I watched some of the dialogue around the corny comment, and I think that much of the sensible pushback, I don't know about death threats and all of that, that's extra, too extra. But I know that the pushback from some people was just the idea that because somebody is a nice guy or not a thug and not so, violent or, just profane, that it makes them corny, that we need to, as a community, allow space for people who are different to not be looked at in such a negative context that they are corny. And so I saw that, and I wondered, I guess my last question is, did you open up your thoughts and your mind and your heart as you heard more people? Because sometimes when I'm getting attacked and people are coming at me, it's hard. Like, I reject a lot of it. But then I think what helps us grow is when we can sit back and pull pieces from what we're hearing and the noise out there and say, you know what, I see or understand this, particular thing. And it's just very similar. A good example is Ebony K. Williams, after her statement about whatever I forget, the bus driver comment that was our friend Teslin Figueroa calls it Busgate.
I love Teslin. Shout out to Teslin. That's my girl.
It was just so much for, about the bus driver gate.
Yeah.
So I wonder, I wonder if Ebony feels different. I wonder if her interactions and the comments that were made from Iyanla Vanzant, if that helped, because one of the things that Iyanla said is it's not whether or not you will date a bus driver, it's whether or not the bus driver will date you. Like, we have to humble ourselves and look in all directions. So from your perspective, Dominique, as the closer here today, tell us did you feel or see anything different and approach it from a different perspective?
No.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. I'm with you, Dominique.
She did not. One of the behind the scenes dealing with that situation, what felt best was the people who knew me and know me and know my heart already was like, oh, they got you. They not familiar. And this is why I stand on what I said. Everyone's interpretation of corny is their own interpretation, right? And that wasn't meant in malice, right? It's not that deep. But the reason why I said he was corny, I also stated, and I was very clear. I was just speaking on the fact that he likes to date white women, right? And that's fine. He can have his preference. But I did feel as though the Lloyd Harvey publicity relationship really, really just made a lot of people forgot about his previous dating, and that's his thing. But when it comes to me, I'm always going to root for Black love first. And a lot of times it seems as though whenever you are for or pro Black love, then it gets turned into, oh, well, she must hate this or don't like that. No, I don't really care. I'm not the girl that's looking at the interracial couple like, all right, I'm not even looking at y'all. I'm the girl that's telling my sister over here, like, girl, don't worry about him. He's corny anyway. Come on, let's have a drink, or whatever the case may be. So that was the reason, my reasoning, and I shared my reasoning, and it was just because, I'm pro Black love, and that's it. We have some people in our community who will take the time to explain to people that are not of our community why they said to say the things that we say and why we do what we do. And I'm just not one of those people, because I don't have time for that. I talk on the radio. I talk a lot of shit all day, every day, from the podcast to your airwaves. So they're just gonna have to stay mad, honey. He's all right. And I also bigged up a lot of my favorite corny men out here in this world. And let me tell you, they don't have a shortage of money or women, honey. So that's fine. You wear that loud and proud out there, okay? Because we need y'all out here.
The reality is some of us was corny. There was a stage that people was corny. Like you could probably look back at your old. I look back and say when I was in junior high school that I might have been a little corny. I had to uncorny myself. I had to grow out
I
of this.
wore 2 belts one time. Like, why
Yeah.
don't you let me wear a belt up here? And then
And somebody might look and say you, and I gotta own that sometimes. You got to own that.
If corny is synonymous with intentionality, with I'm not, and of course I hear you about the white women thing. That's a whole different show, different conversation. Matter of fact, y'all need to invite us separately.
Yes,
we'll get into an argument, me and my son. So separate invitations, so we can talk about people on podcasts and shows like yours that talk about all types of issues. Often, just like my son said, this guy saw him in a strip club and was like, oh, what you doing here? I have the same problem with my friends, my sisters that do all types of things. They'll be like, oh no, we can't talk to you about sex toys or this. And I'm like, yo, I'm just a regular person. I can talk about any issue. Just because I get out in these streets and I'm pushing peace and pushing justice and pushing equity and all of that doesn't mean that I don't also have my own life and experiences and things that I could talk about on the other side. But so, and in that vein, if he's corny, and it means that he is calm and stable and willing to be intentional about our relationip, honey, send him.
Okay, all right. And that's what we say.
Go get you some cornball.
I think what
good old cornball.
People project from what they have experienced. So if your experience has been people calling you corny because you have been intentional or because you're not a thug or because you're calm, you're taking that with you and how you're responding to her comment. But she never said any of those things.
I said we love the fact that he rented out an aquarium for his girlfriend because that's what corny men do.
And that's why you need to get you one. And that's why I'm trying to look for one. I want to
job you a cornball.
I can find one.
Are both of you single? Look, we have to go. We gotta go because we can stay here and talk all night. But are both of you single?
Who's asking? Who's asking?
Me, your sister is asking.
Honestly, I ain't really been single since 2009. If I'm being
no, okay. So situationships is fine, but I mean not married. That's
not married. Not married.
Not married.
Right. We are single, and you know what, corny guys.
Sign up. Sign up. Listen, we love this too, y'all.
5 to 7%.
5 to 7%.
Exactly.
We're just messing with y'all.
We love y'all so much. And again, we look forward to an invitation for separate interviews on the podcast. I want to thank both of you because you've covered our work. You call me from the street while we're out in the middle of the protest and try to get us on the air to talk about what we're doing around this social justice movement. Keep being a voice. You all are two beautiful young women. You're well-spoken, you're quick, you're witty, and you're courageous. And that's what's important. And you're successful. God bless y'all.
Y'all got about 2% corny. But
yes. Thank you. That's all I need.
See, you can.
I love y'all. Keep doing what you do. Keep it up. Keep it up. Keep it up.
Thank
you so much for having us.
Appreciate y'all. Really, really appreciate it. It means so much.
Diva Unfiltered Podcast with Dominique the Diva and Chey Parker. Thank y'all so much for joining Street Politicians.
Thank you again.
Women contribute $20 trillion to the global economy, yet there's not a news and entertainment network focused on the issues that matter most to us. Until now. Introducing iWomanTV. Become part of the fastest growing global network of women supporting women, featuring new, classic, and original films and TV shows. Studies show when women support women, they are much more successful. Feature your content on the only network created by women, about women, for everyone. Subscribe today at iWoman.tv.
Dope.
Yeah, they dope. I love
the energy. And and I just want to say, people get so wrapped up in what somebody else's perception is or what somebody else's definition of something is. If you see me as corny, right? Only way it matters to me what you see me as is if you matter to me, right? So if a stranger sees me as a corny individual, why would I take it personal that you see me? And then I have to think about, all right, what is your definition of corny? And if certain things that I do, like, oh, you outside, or you do this and you do this, those are things that I do, and those are things that they may see as corny. So is that right or wrong? It's their perception. You can't take somebody's perception away from them based on what you think. You know, your definition of corny and my definition of corny is two different things. You know, and people get mad, that's some corny shit. What you mean corny? Well, I can break down why I think it's corny. And you might not agree with those things, right? You might not agree those reasons make somebody corny, but that may be my definition of corny. So corny is just...
I agree with you, but I also think that there's a negative narrative out there about Black men that we have to be very careful about, right? So when we make the statement that Michael B. Jordan or someone like him, who we don't know anything about what he does behind the scenes every day. He could be the thuggiest thug. He could be shoot 'em up, bang, bang. He could be popping pills, doing drugs, selling drugs. We don't know, right? Life reveals things about everybody.
And it's corny drug dealers and shooters.
No, there are. There is.
It's corny.
It is, but there is a narrative that has been pushed to our children that in order for you to not be corny, then you need to be these things that can often be dangerous to yourself and to your community. And
well, I'm saying push that narrative.
I'm saying that is a narrative. It is an issue. It's like saying, I saw a video the other day where a young girl was like, you know, when the way I speak, I've been, you know, I speak pretty proper, and people say, oh, you sound like a white girl, or you're trying to be white. And so the narrative has become that all the things that's positive and that's good about us can be looked at as corny or acting white, or in a way that makes a young person who has the potential to be all of these great things feel like, nah, that's not the path that I want to take, because they think it's corny. So I'm just saying that's one of the, that's some of the feedback. And it's very similar with the Ebony K. Williams piece. It's like, you know, a bus driver can actually be better to you and be a better man than somebody who might have millions of dollars that beats your ass and cheats on you and has children out of wedlock, right? So it's just that we have to be careful with the power of our tongue and how it influences our young people. What you're saying makes perfect sense. And what Dominique is saying makes perfect sense. Also understanding who they are, the young people, that, you know, the way they talk, that to her, she didn't feel like she was disrespecting Michael B. Jordan. I'm just saying that in the context of the labels that we as Black folks fight against, and how we're trying to help our children understand that going to school to get educated, becoming, you know, a professional, you know, having a professional job, and, you know, staying out of trouble, staying off the streets, not being violent, those things, we want to make sure that they don't become synonymous with being corny. So I think that's where some people will come.
I think that makes sense. I also just think that there are people who are trendy and there are people who are square, right? There's the square person who wants to stay home and watch and read and watch TV all the time, right? They're not really into the cultural things. They don't really want to be involved. They don't like to hang out, and that's your preference, right? But there are other people who see that as something that they love. I want that type of individual, right? I think maybe the connotation and the word corny, maybe we need to change it into something else. Because for me, corny is not someone who is someone who is a straight and narrow square individual. We usually call it square because that means that they go straight by the book. You know, they don't really bend much. They're not very flexible, you know. So that's something. I think corny for me is someone who tries too hard. That's what corny is to me. Corny is someone who is trying to be like, you have people who, because they have money, they want to show off and they want to make you think that they're bigger than they are, and they pull out their money and they try to look down on other people. That's corny to me. You know, those are what I call corny.
I think there are a lot of reasons why people can be corny, and a lot of different reasons. Corny, fake, whatever. I'm just saying that the power of our words is important. And when all I was talking about is that the backlash doesn't just come from people who are sensitive and just feel like, oh, you calling me corny. The backlash may also have come from people who know that they're raising a son or a daughter right now. I remember somebody in my family told my brother, who works really hard every day. He's a hard worker. He works in a factory, takes care of his family. They like, man, that's corny, right? Because that sometimes becomes where people's mind go when they see a person like a Michael B. Jordan or somebody like that, who we believe has this stellar life and future and career and is doing it all the right way. Again, we don't know anything, because I didn't even know he dated white women. I had no idea about that, but all things are revealed. And we just have to be careful, because our kids seem to believe, some of them, that to do the right thing is to be corny.
Okay, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. Anyway, so we agree with that. We found some common ground. But that brings me to my I don't get it. And it's a topic that you posted on your page today. And it was really crazy to me. I just don't get how we got to a time. Well, I think we've always been at the time, but the blatant disregard for just Black life, that white people just shoot you randomly and kill you randomly. You got, Jordan nearly choked to death by a white man. You have this lady, what is the lady's name, Tamika? Oh my God.
Her name, Ajiki Owens. Ajiki Owens.
I just don't get how she just was, a white woman decided that she's going to shoot her through the door because she went to have a conversation about her hitting one of her children, right? And she went to have a conversation with the woman. The woman shoots through the door, and she was brought down for questioning and then released just back into, like, how are we allowing people to just kill people and just go home? That don't happen for Black people. Show me the Black person that shot somebody through their door, that even shot somebody in self-defense, that they knew, somebody was coming to kill, they shot him, and they walked out the precinct the day without being charged for anything.
And
that's just for us. I just don't understand it.
I don't want us to just keep calling her the white woman. I want to make sure we put her name out.
Susan Lorick?
The same way that they do ours. Exactly. Susan Lorick is the white woman who shot her neighbor, which is Ajiki Owens, shot her after an encounter with where Susan Lorick had with her son, her 12-year-old son, AJ's 12-year-old son, in which she hit him with a rollerblade. And she was detained for a few moments, just to give people the proper context. We're going to talk more about this story as we've now met the family. We're working with them. Attorney Ben Crump is on the case, and we're going to talk more about this. But to your point, we're living in a time, we're living in a society, and I guess it always has been, right? Because when they picked up Carolyn Bryant, or not necessarily picked her up, but when Carolyn Bryant told her story that Emmett Till whistled at her, those white men went down to the precinct for a few moments, if at all. They were questioned and they left, and that was the end of it. And that's because the current system of policing across this nation, the current system does not work at all. It's throw it in the trash. It is not working. And we constantly see these things over and over again. But the media campaign of elected officials and other Black folks that look like us will have you believing that you must have police in your community in order to be safe. And meanwhile, the police are there and you're still saying your communities are not safe. So you're still saying the community is not safe. The shootings are still happening. The police are everywhere. So what the hell will you say now? Something needs to be done. We need to get back into the streets today. So we've got to close Street Politicians and close this episode and come back and talk with you all some more later during the week. But there's so many different things going on and a lot to uncover. And I just want to remind you to go back to untilfreedom.com. Go to Until Freedom. If you already gave, go back and give again, because you might have an extra $5 that you're able to spare after listening to us talk now about a new case that we've gotten involved with, which is our sister Ajiki Owens, AJ, in Ocala, Florida, where we're going to have to travel soon to ensure that a white woman, Susan Lorick, is arrested for first of all, assaulting the son, a 12-year-old child, and then shooting the mother to death.
Lord have mercy. So that brings us to the end of another show. Shout out to Dominique the Diva and Chey Parker, Divas Unfiltered Podcast. Amazing young ladies, man. Please check them out. They are hilarious, they're witty, and they're beautiful young Black queens. So thanks for having them. We got to go back to do this work, man. Thanks to everybody at Street Politicians who supports us, that makes us the #1 podcast in the world. We appreciate you, man. Continue to show us love. Hit us up at Street Politicians Pod. Let us know what you want to hear, what you don't like, what you do like. Continue to support us, man. We love you, and we're out. Once again, I'm not going to always be right. Tamika D. Mallory's not going to always be wrong, but we will both always, and I mean always, be authentic.
Happy birthday, Breonna Taylor.
Happy birthday, Bree. Bree, wait.
Listen to Street Politicians on the Black Effect Network on iHeartRadio.
And catch us every single Wednesday for the video version of Street Politicians on iWoman.TV.